They're breaking your heart. They're breaking your heart.
If you were here last Sunday, then just before the blessing at the end of the service, you heard my plea for help with Feist, because I knew what we were going to do with Dylan, or had an idea for next week, and Coldplay for 2 weeks after that, but had no idea what Feist was all about. And so, a whole bunch of people responded. Thank you. And one of the responses came in an email where Bevan wrote these words. John, here are some of my thoughts, not formatted or organized very well, but some of it may be a spark. I've been following Feist and broken social scene since 2001, and I immediately read expert, expert, expert when he said that. Feist reminds me of a community, in her case, community with fellow musicians and artists. They have each other's back and support each other in their individual pursuits. The community circles around the band Broken Social Scene, which is a Toronto band. Members come and go and have histories in other bands. Leslie was part of the early BSS touring band, contributed on 2 or 3 albums, and still performs and contributes when schedules allow. She contributes on other members' albums like Kevin Drew's, Jason Collette's, Apostle of Hustles, Brendan Canning. I'll say them as though I know what any of these bands are, and I don't. Other related bands do make, say, Think, Metric, Stars, Constantine's, Emily Haynes, and By Divine Right. At this moment, reading his note and thinking, oh, this is good stuff about community, I was reminded that my daughter, 2 weeks before, had said to me, Dad, Feist, she's all about this broken social scene, community thing, and I didn't listen then, but I'm listening now. Bevan goes on to write, even in business, they are in community. BSS founders started a record label called Arts and Crafts with a former record executive and roommate. They split the income 50-50 with artists and do publishing, management, and releases. They share writing credits for royalties despite who wrote the lyrics or the melodies. If you play the trumpet on the song, you are part of the song and part of the song deal. This, Bevan writes, is 180 degrees from other record labels. When Leslie had her big break on TV, she always has help from friends. And when her label mates have breaks, she's there to support them. You have to use her performance on Letterman. There, about a year ago, indie superstars Grizzly Bear, The National, The New Pornographers, and of course, Broken Social Scene members, etc., all supported her on her take in Letterman. Pretty rare, he writes. This was the clip from Letterman.
1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me that you love me more. Sleepless, long nights, that is what my youth was for. Old teenagers lie at your door, left you with nothing but they want some more. You're changing your heart. You know who you are. heart.
Now, how fun is that? I mean, and how inspiring in a prima donna, celebrity-based, it's all about you, the star world, that kind of musician exists. And that kind of supportive community exists. She invited all her friends onto Letterman. I can imagine her talking to Letterman, saying, I can't make it unless I have these 40 people there with me. When Brandon Harris, another New Hoper, sent me a few pages of his thoughts about Feist, what struck me was how this creative guy just wanted to jump into her songs and into her stories. There was one video link that he sent to me, and he says, don't you just want to be there running through the field with her with all the fireworks and be a part of that? He just loved her creative energy and how cinematic she was. And that, if you were at the concert last night, you saw wholly cinematic in both senses of the word. And she gave away half the show for half the songs by letting these artists do these things on a big screen behind her. So communal. So it's not all about me. Leslie Feist is. And she has this freedom and this boundaryless kind of whimsy, this joy in just being her. I thought, Brendan's right. I want to be part of that community. Reading an article on this production company that Bevan referenced, the Arts and Crafts Group, there were a couple of quotes that I read, and when I read them, I heard another text being read right in behind the words. Some guy named Remedios is talking. It's his voice that these quotes are coming from. He says, I told Kevin and Brendan, look, you come from this incredible circle of musicians, actors, filmmakers, and videographers. If you were willing to put them all together into one talent pool, the whole would be greater than the sum of the parts. And as I'm hearing that, I'm hearing the Apostle Paul say, I want you to think about how all of this makes you more significant, not less. A body isn't just a single part blown up into something huge. It's all the different but similar parts arranged and functioning together. The way God designed our bodies is a model for understanding our lives together as a church community. Every part dependent on every other part, the parts we mention and the parts we don't. And if you look at the original Greek, the parts we don't, it ties into the word for trumpet players. The parts we mention and the parts we don't. The parts we see and the parts we don't. If one part hurts, every part is involved in the hurt and in the healing. And if one part flourishes and gets a call to go on Letterman, every other part enters into the exuberance and joins the party.